You play.
So, good day to each and everyone. We are the students of University of Cebu, MITC campus, and the strand of Pre-Baccalaureate Maritime, grade 11. Before we start, we will gonna introduce ourselves first. By the way, I'm Richard Emmanuel Ospina Torato.
I'm Mike Lawrence Prahes.
I'm Rich from the Boris.
I'm Asidilio Elmo.
And we are the interviewer for tonight. And before I start, we will gonna introduce first our guests. So, good evening.
Okay, hello. I am Christiana Jade Galimba. You can call me CJ. I am currently studying at University of Cebu, Lapu-Lapu, and Mandawi campus. The same as the interviewers, I am grade 11 and taking up the strand STEM.
So, thank you, Miss Galimba. So, here we go. Before we start our questions, we'll tackle first about something, or we will ask her about her information in being a writer and how he started and unsayang.
Okay. I am not a professional writer, but I do write sometimes. I love to make poems and short stories. Uh, a little background. Actually, I wanted to write because I am very transparent and I wanted to express myself. But mostly, I do something like through speaking. I want to speak, but yeah, writing is also one of the things that I do.
So, thank you, Miss Galimba. So, here we are. Um, so, we will start to our first question, by the way. So, this is our first question. As a writer, when did you realize you wanted to be a writer?
Not I again disclaimer, I am not a professional writer, but since I do write sometimes, I started to realize that I wanted to write because I want to express myself and any aspects that I can think of, like for example speaking and writing, and in that way I can express myself more.
So, thank you so much, Miss Galimba. So, we will proceed to our second question.
What inspired you? What inspired you to start a writing?
The people. I knew a lot of people that are afraid or shy, or they have low self-esteem when we talk about expressing ourselves, and I wanted to inspire them. It inspired me to start writing, to start speaking up, to start expressing myself, so that I can be a model to those people who have low self-esteem and they are just starting to build their confidence.
How long does it take you to write a book?
Since I seldomly write, and I don't really write things like novels. That's too long for me. I am not that one. I am lazy, but if we talk about writing stories, it takes up usually 1 week for me the characters and what will happen inside my story.
When did you start writing?
To be honest, I can't remember when did I start writing, but one thing for sure, I started writing when I was in high school. Okay, elementary days was the
And what is your work schedule like when you're writing?
immature me. Well, first, writing is not really my priority. But if I do have something that is very important to write, like for example, it is very needed, a requirement, a performance task, a project, or whatever. It would usually be like I start to think of a situation or an event first, and then start coming up with the characters' names, and then start sequencing the events up until the very crucial part is the introduction of my story. So I start that for like 2 days. 2 days magunahon na sa introduction, and then half an hour sa ending, because ending are easy to begin with. For me.
So, thank you, Miss Christiana. Galing ba?
Thank you for having me here. Nice meeting you all. Mara to?
Wala pa. Yeah. Last question,
Okay.
by the way. So, Sir Asidilio, proceed.
So, what advice would you give to a new writer?
I am okay. I'm not new in writing, but I am also not a pro in writing. But all I can say to the new writers that would want to express themselves, never lose hope and never get tired, because you know that you want to do it and eventually you'll have fun. Yeah, don't get discouraged at all if walay mubasa. Okay, if you do it with all your heart, someone will appreciate it eventually.
So, that's all. And thank you so much, Miss Galimba,
Thank you.
for your time. So, thank you so much again. So, we will end our live video tonight. So, thank you so much. And have a
Nanibayad.
good day.
Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
The end na.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Jigaw, sugod na.
Good day to each and everyone. We are the students from University of Cebu with the strands of Pre-Baccalaureate Maritime. So before we start, we will gonna introduce ourselves first. By the way, I'm Richard Emmanuel Osminia Torato, 17 years of age.
I'm Clarence D. Price, 19.
Nakamute ka.
I'm Elmo Asidilio, 17.
So we are the interviewer for this night. So before we start, we will we will gonna introduce you first, our special guest, and good evening to you.
Hello, good evening. I'm Gian Nicole Dahunan, a campus journalist from St. Paul School of Medellin. Writer in grade 7 of Writers Club in Sisters of Mary School way back on my grade 7 and grade 8 years. And when I came to St. Paul School of Medellin when I was on grade 9, I became a campus journalist. First, being a Filipino campus journalist, and later on, I became part of English campus journalism.
So thank you so much, Mr. Dahonan. Good evening to you, by the way. So we already have a lot of questions for you to interview and to gain your information and knowledge about being a writer. First question is, when did you first realize wanted to be a writer?
For that, I realized that I wanted to be a writer when I was on grade 7, when I became part of the Writers Club. Before, I don't mind the writing field. I don't have interest in writing, but as I became a club member of writers, I became eager to write things or stories. And it was again during my grade 7.
So thank you so much. Let's proceed to Mr. Mike Lawrence Brahes.
Good evening, Mr. Donan. My question is, what's inspired you to start writing?
So the things that inspired me in writing are those books that I have read. Because of those books, I came up into a conclusion that my imaginations could be put into writings. So without wasting my imagination, I can share it up and express it through writing.
Third question, how long does it take you to write a book?
Again. Sorry.
How long does it take you to write a book?
If it refers to writing a book, if it refers to a whole story, maybe it would take 8 months for me to write a whole book, since I'm not really focusing only on writing. With those activities I have, it would really take long time. But if I will focus only on writing, like for example, I have no other tasks or school works to do, maybe it would take 6 months. But as of this time, it would really take 8 months writing a whole book.
Thank you, Mr. Donan.
So thank you so much, Mr. Downan, for that wonderful answers. So let's proceed to Mr. Ilmo as
So, good evening, sir. So, this is my question. When did you start writing?
Okay. I thought it was repeated. I started writing when I was on, again, grade 7. When I realized that I have this interest in writing, I already, I, I immediately tried to write. Again,
My second question is, what advice? What is your work schedule like when you're writing?
if I'm writing, maybe it would be twice a week or thrice a week. Specifically, it would be Saturday, Sunday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday on evening times.
Thank you for your answer, sir.
So thank you so much, Mr. Dahonan. So
You're
for this
welcome.
time, we will ask something or a little message or advice would you give to a new writer? Dili ka madungog.
Sorry, I got disconnected. So, advice, I think it's advice.
Okay.
So my,
I will repeat the question. So I will repeat the question. As a writer, what would you what would be the message or advice for the upcoming new writer?
for the new writers, I would like to advise that they must not limit what they have in mind. Right? As long as it comes up into your mind, you have your time to edit. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit your imagination. Next is read. You need to read books so that you can gain techniques or you can observe some of the styles which you may use and which you may realize on what genre you are in. Next is have a reader. If you have already written a work or a book, have a reader, not your family, not your friends, but those people whom you trust. For example, your teacher. Let your teacher critique your book or your story so that in that way you will learn where you are having mistakes, and for the next writings that you will have, take those mistakes and don't repeat it again. And lastly, do not compare your works to those published books. Don't be too don't have high standards. Of course, you are a beginner. You really begin at being in a low level. Do not compare to those published works because those are already from those intermediate writers. So improve yourself, see improvements and growth in your writings. I think that's all.
So thank you so much for that wonderful advice or message, Mr. Downan. So this is it. Thank you for your time and may God bless you. Thank you so much.